Mr. President, it was 2 weeks ago, I know it seems like a lifetime ago, but 2 weeks ago that folks across this country went to the polls, some undoubtedly joining the political process for the first time, to elect Donald J. Trump as the 47th President of the United States, as well as deliver a clear victory for Republicans in both chambers of Congress. I'd like to extend my congratulations once again to President Trump and our colleague Vice President J.D. Vance on their hard-fought and well-earned victory. Congratulations, too, to my friend and colleague John Thune, who will be the next leader of the Senate Republican Conference, the next majority leader, alongside with the entire leadership team for the 119th Congress. We'll be seeing some new faces around here next year, and I'd like to extend a warm welcome to some of them, my incoming Republican colleagues, Senator McCormick from Pennsylvania, Senator Justice from West Virginia, Senator Moreno from Ohio, Senator Banks of Indiana, and Senator Curtis of Utah. I'd also like to congratulate my colleague from Texas, Senator Cruz, on a well-deserved victory in our home state of Texas. In the other chamber, there's some new additions to the Texas delegation on the way. Representatives-elect Craig Goldman, who served a long time in the State House, and Brandon Gill, who was elected in this last election. I look forward to working with all of these colleagues as we deliver needed solutions to the American people. The American people said very clearly that they believed the nation was on the wrong track, and it's our job to get the nation on the right track, and that's exactly what we intend to do. Voters made their voices heard, and the message was loud and clear. Americans are ready to turn the page on the last 4 years of failed policies. The American people elected a trifecta of Republican leadership to address the major challenges that we're facing. As a nation, things like inflation, open borders, a $35 trillion national debt, and the perception of American weakness and lack of resolve abroad. Families are ready for affordable groceries, gasoline, and homes once again under a Trump administration. They're certainly ready for secure borders, particularly in my state. They're ready for an end to the deadly fentanyl and human trafficking pouring across our southern border. And they're ready to return to a world where our friends can trust us and our enemies fear us under President Trump. The last 4 years under Democratic leadership has been marked by reckless spending, failed border policies, and a weak and dangerous presence on the world stage. Texans have had to bear the brunt of the historic levels of inflation not seen in 40 years. Since President Biden took office, rents have risen by more than 15%. The cost of groceries are up nearly 20%, and electricity prices have increased nearly 25%. With higher interest rates necessitated by the Federal Reserve's attempts to control inflation, Americans are also paying more each month on their mortgages and their car payments. But that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Biden-Harris administration's misguided policies, far-left policies, and abysmal leadership. Just look at the administration's energy policies, which put the hysteria of climate activists ahead of Texans who just want to be able to afford the gas to drive to work or to school. Or consider President Biden's promise to undo the effective border policies of the Trump administration. This is one promise he certainly delivered on, much to our chagrin. My state has had to deal with huge influxes of migrants for a long time. But this administration chose to roll out the welcome mat to people from all around the world, as well as the people who took advantage of those open borders, including the drug runners and the human traffickers and people generally up to no good. And all because they failed to enforce the laws on the books. Under the Biden-Harris administration, Customs and Border Patrol has broken daily, monthly, and yearly records of encounters at the southern border. The history books will remember this presidency for the open border policies that have been simply devastating to our country. Mark my words, we will be paying the price for decades to come as a result of these disastrous policies. Our country's been suffering from a deadly fentanyl epidemic. Fentanyl poisoning is now the leading cause of death of young people between the age of 18 and 45. We know where it comes from. The precursors come from China. They go to Mexico. They're combined to look like innocuous pharmaceuticals and sold to unwitting children and young people here in the United States. And the record number of unaccompanied minors which have entered the country at the southern border only to be lost by this administration, 500,000 unaccompanied children placed with sponsors, and largely the administration takes a position they bear no responsibility for knowing where they are, what's happening to them, whether they're being trafficked for sex, sold into involuntary servitude. They just don't know, and the truth is they do not care. This November, the American people had a choice. They knew that the next president, the next Congress, would decide whether to continue down this path of economic hardship, open borders, and American weakness, or turn a page. That was their choice. And the American people voted not only to turn the page, but to write an entirely new chapter written by Republicans in the majority. No doubt we have a lot of work to do, but we also have a mandate from the American people who are sick and tired of failed leadership and ready for change. I look forward to being part of that change, and I'm grateful to the Texans who continue to give me the opportunity to serve them at this pivotal time as we work out to get our country back on track as we all want it to be. Mr. President, I yield the floor.